horseshoe is back.
What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to Bring the Juice. The Indianapolis Colts in week number 1 are winners against the Carolina Panthers. The Colts win by a score of 21-18. Colts got to see a lot of different players today, from some guys who were starters to some other guys who were backups fighting for positions, and also some positions that we've been watching, right? Some positions that some guys are battling out for. So I know I personally wasn't able to really watch this game, but Derek, you obviously weren't able to stream this game and watch every single play from this game. So I'm going to defer to you a lot for this game because I don't have time to go back and watch a 2.5-hour game, but I can talk about what the stats show, and I'm sure you see other things beyond what the stats show. But let's start here, Derek, first off with the quarterbacks, and we'll start with the guy who was the starter for this game, Jacob Eason. He was 15 of 21, 183 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. What did you see from Jacob Eason today?
Obviously, some good and some bad, when you looked at from a couple different angles. We can kind of start with the bad. And the only bad thing about what Eason did today was, very, very lack of awareness in the pocket. There was a play where he lost a fumble. And, initial thoughts are, oh, you blame the left tackle because the edge guy got around him. But honestly, if Eason stepped up in the pocket and would have made that throw, that edge rusher's not making that play. So, partly, it is Eason's fault because he didn't step up and he didn't feel the pressure. And there were a couple times where he just stayed flat-footed. As soon as he hit his 3-step drop back, did not move. And, that's the issue we saw early on in the first couple of drives for him. And that's why he got sacked the way he did and lost the fumble. But when you looked at the good, once he finally started getting a rhythm in, he really had some great throws across the middle, on the edge. Michael Strawn going up and getting a bunch of great catches for Eason today. Patman, of all people, leading the team in catches today. He was being utilized a lot early on. That was great to see. Eason's balls were really beautiful today. The way he threw the football today were amazing. Very good touch on practically every throw except for like 1 or 2. So, and the Paris Campbell one where he threw it up to that one, obviously you've seen that. The touch on that throw was just beautiful. That was and then there was the throw he had to Strawn. It was actually Strawn's first catch where Eason rolled out to the right, and that's been the big question mark. Eason throwing the ball on the run, can he do it? And he hit Strawn in stride on the right sideline. Strawn made a play. So overall, it was a good day. I think the Colts are definitely going to address the, moving up in the pocket this week. I think that's going to be a point of emphasis for Eason, but nevertheless, the arm strength was on point today. Had a lot of great throws. I'm excited to see what I saw from him.
Initial reactions is this is his first game action in an NFL uniform. So to come out and expect it to be absolutely perfect it's not reasonable, right? I kind of expected there was going to be some issues with Eason, right? But I think you touched on it right, Derek, when you said just some of the placement that he had in his throws today. Those are things you just can't teach. We've talked about all the time, and people talked about it coming out of college. That arm that Jacob Eason has, it's not just throwing the ball 80 yards standing. It really is finding those balls in those windows where nobody else can get them. And Jacob Eason, as much as we like Sam Ehlinger and the Colts obviously like Sam Ehlinger, Jacob Eason has an arm that's completely different than Sam Ehlinger. That's just the facts. He can fit a football into places that no other quarterback can do, or very few quarterbacks can do, just because of that arm strength. And obviously, there's some times when he needs to ease up on that a little bit and fix some other mechanics, like we talked about, being better in the pocket, more pocket awareness. And that was kind of a question a little bit, was under pressure, how is Jacob Eason going to perform? Now, took 3 sacks. That's a little bit concerning, but you do factor in, okay, how many starters around?
That was the O-line. A lot of that was the O-line. The one sack where he gave up, the fumble, that one was on him. But the one where he got sacked for like 15 yards, that was not his fault. That was on a 4th down and 1. It was supposed to be a play action where the tight end was coming out to the outside edge. Is what the Colts do with Jack Doyle all the time. The tight end got tripped up and nobody blocked on the right side, and Eason had nowhere to go with it. Nowhere to go with it.
Yep, for sure. But I did love, Derek, the 2-minute drive that Jacob Eason had at the end of the first half. He didn't throw the touchdown, but he led the team down, and they ended up punching it in then. So you got to love to see that. That was a big thing. I think that was probably a big win for Jacob Eason in this quarterback battle, was the fact that he was able to do that against essentially the starters, right? He was able to do that against the ones. He was able to go down and drive the team down, put them in position to score right before the half. I mean, that is really, really good for Jacob Eason's stock, which is great. But Sam Ehlinger came in that second half, started off a little bit rough. He ended up with, let me pull up the stats here real fast. So for him, he ended up 10 of 15, 155 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, bad interception. We talked about it a little bit. I know you talked about it in your stream a little bit. Bad interception, but I thought he made after he kind of got settled down, kind of like Eason a little bit. I thought that he looked pretty good in that second half, and obviously he helped lead that comeback for the Colts to win on, I believe it was a last-minute field goal by Eddie Pinheiro, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So it was like within 30 seconds they made that and went ahead then and ended up winning the game. So, Sam Ehlinger obviously has some issues. We talked about them before, but you know what? This guy knows how to win. I mean, that's something that the Colts have said as much, right? There's something about this guy. What did you see from Sam Ehlinger today, and what were your thoughts overall with him and Eason in this game? What were your takeaways between these two guys?
Well, I mean, Ehlinger definitely has the juice, man. I mean, he definitely has that competitive fire that, Ballard was saying from the very beginning. This guy's a winner. And you saw it in the very end there. He did not want to lose that game. There were times they were showing him on the sideline. He was frustrated with himself, man, after those first couple drives. That third quarter was not kind to him. He had a couple of bad plays, and it looked like he just wasn't settled in. And then when he finally got that play where he threw to Tariq Black for a 40-yard catch, where Tariq Black made an unbelievable catch, he felt like he could do no wrong at that point. He was dropping dimes everywhere. Every throw was spot on. Every time he made a decision, it was spot on. He even had the ability to rush. He was the leading rusher for the Colts today, too. Had 4 rushes for 30-something yards. I mean, he made plays with his feet, too, and that's what we said Sam Ehlinger can do. He can make plays with his feet if he has to, and sure enough, he had to a few times, and he got very pivotal first downs on that touchdown drive when they needed it. So Sam Ehlinger, again, once he settled down, and he started playing the way he wanted to, then he started making it work. Now, again, this is obviously against second stringers, third stringers, all this, the works. But for two guys that have never had NFL action come in and do what they did, once they both settle down, they both look like the best quarterbacks out there on the field at any given moment. I know P.J. Walker started off kind of hot in that game, but it was different, though. P.J. Walker got cold as that second quarter went on, but Ehlinger got better. Once that fourth quarter hit, could do no wrong. And that second quarter for Eason, he could almost do no wrong. So it was great to see through all the adversity they were dealing with for both of these guys to come back and be clutch in the moments they needed to be. Even though it's a preseason game, it's great to see them do stuff like that.
Based off of today's performance, do you see either of these guys kind of elevating themselves a little bit more than the other?
Oh, man. I really can't say, after seeing both of these guys, I ranked both of their performances a B-. Obviously no touchdowns from either one of them in the passing department, but, for the circumstances they were put into, I thought both of these guys really gave their team a chance to win today. And I mean, I really can't say definitively that either one of these guys really elevated each other over one another. I mean, they're still neck and neck really for what they want to be at right now. And, we'll kind of get more of an idea next week when Ehlinger starts facing more of the number 1s and number 2s against the Vikings. We'll get a better understanding of it then. But for this game specifically, they both did well today.
They did. I think for me, and obviously it's nothing that Ehlinger can really do, but against the ones, Jacob Eason had a better completion percentage, right? And he had more yardage and stuff like that. than Sam Ehlinger. So I think for me, I was just slightly more impressed with Jacob Eason. Now, again, I am not discrediting Sam Ehlinger in the second half, but you mentioned it, Derek. Like, he's playing against backups, right? He's playing against second and third string guys. As good as he was, and he was, right? I'm not discrediting that. I think, like, I take more of what Jacob Eason did, and I said, wow, this guy showed a lot of potential today. And for me, I mean, he didn't turn the ball over, and that's key.
No, he didn't.
So,
well, he did turn the ball over technically. That was technically
right. Well, I mean, that was more, that there was a lot of situations like Ehlinger's was just a really bad pass,
bad play. Yeah,
it was just a bad play, which they happen like this preseason. You figure that out, but. Yeah, I think I was just slightly more impressed with Jacob Eason because he was doing it against ones. Now, if Sam Ehlinger does the same thing next week, okay, yeah, I feel you. But, okay, let's move on now to some other positions. Let's move on to the running game. Really not a whole lot in the running game today. Interesting enough, Ben LeMay, out of all people, he led the Colts in terms of running backs with 6 carries for 26 yards and a touchdown. Jordan Wilkins added 10 rushes for 25 yards and a touchdown. Deion Jackson, 5 for 17. Marlon Mack only had 4 rushes for 12 yards. And Darius Anderson, 2 for 5. What were your impressions of this running game today?
I mean, if it wasn't for how many runs we had that resulted in losses of yards, the running game would have looked so much better today. I mean, I remember LeMay getting runs that were 5, 6, 8 yards. I saw Anderson get a run or two that was, 8 yards. I saw Marlon Mack get a 7-yard run. And I also saw Jordan Wilkins and Marlon Mack get tackled 5 yards deep in the backfield because nobody blocked the blitzer that was coming off the edge and they had nowhere to go. So again, it was either a really good run or it was a really bad run. I mean, there was no in between for the Colts tonight. There were very few 2, 3-yard runs that I saw from the Colts. A lot more of it was either a 5 or 6 yard gain or it was a 5-yard, 6-yard loss. So, you take with it with a grain of salt. Obviously, this isn't the starting offensive line that we want to see. They were going up against backups as well. But I mean, this offensive line outside of the starters on a bunch of spots right now just looks very atrocious. So that's something that's going to have to get worked on. Overall, I thought the running game was better than what the stats actually showed. It's just more of the offensive line that was having issues.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's talk about the receiving game as well. You mentioned Tariq Black earlier. He led the Colts in terms of yardage. He had 3 catches for 67 yards. Michael Strawn had 3 catches as well for 57 yards. Desmond Patman had 5 catches for 49 yards. Tyler Vaughn, 3 for 46. And then Paris Campbell had a catch for 37, which you talked about. Really nice ball from Eason there to Campbell. Courtney Davis had 2 for 29. Anderson had 2 for 17. Granson had 2 for 16. DeMichael Harris had a catch. Farrad Green had a catch. So what were your impressions overall of these pass catchers today?
I was impressed with the undrafted free agents, man. I mean, good Lord. I mean, we knew these guys could play, but my God. I mean, Tyler Vaughn's with that one-handed catch on his helmet. I mean, talk about Super Bowl vibes back when Tyrese ended up catching the ball on his helmet to get that big first down to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, man. I mean, it kind of reminded me of a catch like that. I mean, Ehlinger put that ball perfectly where Vaughns could get it, and it was right there. Great catch. And then the throw before that, Tariq Black coverage all over him and even got interfered with and still dove out and made the catch. I mean, these guys have some serious hands. I mean, very impressed with that. Courtney Davis, really showed some athleticism there. Granson made a few catches today. The first catch that he made, it was actually ruled an incomplete pass, which was total crap. I could say here, for the love of God, how bad the refs were today. I mean, I'm sure that the entire country at this point is saying how terrible the officiating was from top to bottom in this Colts game today. But I mean, Granson's first catch should have been a catch, but they ruled it an incomplete pass for some odd reason or another, but whatever. And then, on top of it, seeing Michael Strawn do what we've seen him been doing in the whole preseason so far, going up and making contested catches, making it look easy. And then seeing Patman make catches day in and day out there. It's like, it's kind of was weird to see because I've never seen Patman really do a lot so far. So it was very odd seeing Patman get targeted so often today. I mean, it was great to see these guys making great contested catches. That's how you make a name for yourself. It's going to make it very difficult for the Colts to decide who that sixth wide receiver is. Going to make it very, very difficult. The Colts are going to have a big decision to make there.
They are, man. They are. All these guys are making cases now. Guys we didn't really consider had some pretty strong days, so they're making cases for themselves, which you'll love to see these guys competing for those spots. And you feel like, okay, if these guys continue up, even if they're on the practice squad, right, you can bring them up and feel pretty good about where you're at wide receiver, which obviously you'll love to see from a depth standpoint. So I'm excited to see how these number 5 and number 6, we assume Strawn's going to get the number 5 right now, but that number 6 wide receiver position, you're right. There's going to be a lot of guys going for it, and I'm excited to see which guy ends up taking it because I think it's going to be a major, big competition in these next couple preseason games.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move on. We talked about the offensive line a little bit. Don't want to harp on that too much, so we'll move on to this Colts defense. What did you notice today, Derek, from this Indianapolis defense?
Well, I'll say this. I can point to you the player who was the best player on the defensive side of the ball today. There were a couple different names that stood out, but one guy that seemed to always be near the ball in the secondary was Matthew Adams. Matthew Adams, multiple times today, was near the ball and almost had an interception in the end zone going for, against PJ Walker. Now, Adams was kind of guarding a guy that ended up getting a touchdown in the second quarter, but that was on a PJ Walker scramble. I don't necessarily blame him completely because I don't necessarily think that was his man the whole way. But Matthew Adams, multiple times today, involved in covering wide receivers and tight ends today and had multiple passes defended. This guy was everywhere. It was impressive to see and was making some tackles. Matthew Adams, very, very impressive, really doing a great job there. Was the best linebacker by far for Indianapolis today. Zaire Franklin had a really nice pop on Chuba Hubbard today that stuffed him for a fourth down play there. So that was really nice to see Zaire Franklin do that. I'll tell you who I was really impressed with was the interior defensive tackles. All these backup guys, whew, talk about movers in the middle. Oh, my gosh. I saw Antoine Woods move guys all day long. I saw Andrew Brown getting involved in it. I saw Williams getting involved in it. I saw Joey Ivy, who we just picked up a few weeks ago, get the only sack of the game in a very pivotal moment in the fourth quarter. And, Ivy getting some plays in there. So all the defensive tackles today really showed out today. They were really good in the run game. Wish I could say the same thing for the defensive ends. Kamoko Toure did have a couple of QB pressures and QB hits today, but never really resulted in a sack. Now, granted, the Panthers were getting the ball out of their hands pretty quickly. But I will say this. I think Ben Banigou was kind of a disappointment today. Was involved in a few plays, but there was a run where early in the first quarter where Chuba Hubbard was going to get dropped for a 3-yard loss, had Banigou kept the edge and just made the tackle, but he just half-heartedly tried to tackle him. Hubbard got around him and then just got a 3-yard gain out of it instead. So, that 6-yard difference that was a result of Ben Banigou not really doing as much. I wasn't super impressed with the defensive ends at all. It was really just the defensive tackle guys today.
What about Isaac Rochelle, though? I felt like he was doing really well in that second half.
Yeah. Rochelle definitely made some good plays in the run defense, especially. Was filling lanes very well, was not getting dominated off the edge. He was basically in that third quarter, he was really one of the only guys on the defensive end group that was actually making tackles, even away from him. Coming down the line, he was still making tackles right there at the line of scrimmage. So, Rochelle might have been, outside of Kamoko Toure, from overall effectiveness today, you're right, Rochelle might have been the best defensive end today.
Mm-hmm. We got to talk about Isaiah Kafusi real fast because he had a play on fourth down That was absolutely awesome to watch. I watched the clip of it. I'm just like, man, this guy might have something. And Derek, when we looked at him, like when the Colts first signed their undrafted free agents, we said he could be a sneaky good guy in this linebacker, could be a candidate, dark horse to make this roster. Now, they only had 2 tackles today, but one of them was really, really pivotal.
Yeah, it really was. And when he came inside there, unblocked and everything, the great thing was, I don't know who the safety was that took that block, but the safety hit on Kafusi right after. He hit him on the inside saying, I'm coming in. So he took the block from the right tackle, and Kafusi just came right off the edge, unblocked. That was a beautiful tackle. Just head down, full head of steam, got that head in front of the legs of the running back. Great tackle right there. Reminded you of a Justin Houston tackle back in Kansas City in 2019 when he stuffed the running back in the backfield on a 4th and 1 also. And then, he was hyped as could be. So was the entire team. You're right. He came off that edge fast. He had a great tackle. It was a big, big play. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the Colts went down and scored after that. So, I mean, that was a very pivotal point there. So, yeah, Kafusi, great play, man. That's how you make a name for yourself here.
Absolutely. I'm curious, staying with the defense real fast, what did you see from these defensive backs? We know that there's a battle going on for that number 2 outside corner / number 3 corner spot. What did you see from guys like Marvell Tell, TJ Carey, Rock Yasin, and the like, and Isaiah Rodgers as well, I guess? What did you see from some of these corners?
Well, I know TJ Carey went down with a groin injury, I think is what they said it was. Or no, it was a knee injury. It wasn't even a contact injury. It was just him running and then just popped something in his knee. He was out on the field afterwards, so they don't think it was anything severe. But, after the first series, he wasn't there anymore, so he was done. Marvell Tell had to leave the game in the second quarter because of a groin injury. But I'll tell you what, I mean, for both of those guys, not impressed with either one of them today. TJ Carey, lost himself in a zone coverage in that first drive and ended up giving up a 50-yard pass to Carolina that put him inside the 10-yard line of ours. I think it was more like a 65-yard gain anyways, and was tracked down by somebody else. I think it was Isaiah Rodgers, ironically enough. And Marvell Tell, couple routes in the second quarter, he got burned on, and PJ Walker took advantage of those. I didn't like that either. I'll tell you what, I mean, the one play that I saw Rock Ya-Sin play in today, the one play, I mean, Rock Ya-Sin did have tight coverage, and that dude had no chance to make that catch. So Rock Ya-Sin with the limited action, he made it count. And, Isaiah Rodgers in that fourth quarter too, when the Colts were trying to come back, he stuffed them pretty good too. He made sure to play some good tight coverage. Early in the game, he struggled. He wasn't as tight with the coverages as he should have been, but there was a quick slant on a 3rd and 2 that he had in the third quarter. And, he made a great play on that. So it was good seeing Isaiah Rodgers get a few plays here and there. So yeah, I mean, TJ Carey, Marvell Tell, kind of disappointments in my eyes today, but Isaiah Rodgers, I think Isaiah Rodgers deserved a little bit of love today.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that's something we're obviously going to continue to monitor the next couple weeks here as the Colts try to determine, okay, who is their number 2 corner right now on the outside. All right, last guys we can talk about, the 2 kickers, both perfect today, right? Obviously, Rodrigo Blankenship started the game. He looked really good. He was perfect. He hit a field goal, hit an extra point, had 4 points in total. And then Eddie Pinheiro comes in and kicks a game-winning field goal for Indianapolis. So what were your impressions of both these kickers today?
Pinheiro almost gave me a heart attack on that game winner because that thing almost didn't go in. So he gave me a little mini heart attack. I'm not going to lie, but yeah, both of them were perfect today. It was nice to see them both do that, but Blankenship definitely looked like the more accurate kicker today. Pinheiro, like I said, he hit them, but they were definitely close both times.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot, obviously, that you like from this preseason game. There's a lot to clean up as well. And that's why you do it, man. You have 2 more games to figure this out before, week 1, before it actually counts. So the Colts know this. They're going to figure out things with all these different players, good and bad. They're going to watch the tape. They're going to figure it out. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how some of these battles continue to work out, how some of these players continue to tweak their game and hopefully improve in time for the regular season. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It was a really good day in terms of content that we had out. A lot of people in our streams and stuff. So we really appreciate all that support. Thank you guys so much for doing that. And this is just the beginning, guys. This was just a preseason game.
I know.
So,
preseason game and had over 200 people watching with us. I mean, that's insane.
Yep. So you got to think when we get to the games that actually count, hopefully we're going to get a lot more people in there.
Hopefully so, man. I hope people come in to watch some Carson Wentz action. I saw a couple Eagles fans in our pregame stream saying that Carson Wentz brought him to the channel. So hopefully they enjoy watching our channel a little bit when Carson Wentz actually does play.
It's funny. We had Phillip Rivers people last year. This year we have Carson Wentz people. It's always fun. Whether or not you're a Colts fan, we're glad you're here. We're glad you're checking out our channel. Really appreciate it. And we appreciate all the support, whether or not you do follow the Colts hardcore like we do, or whether or not you just like a certain player on our team. We don't mind. Really appreciate all your support. Thanks, guys, so much for tuning in. And as always, go Colts.